Since 2001, Coventry City fans must be wondering if their football club is cursed. Relegated as far as League 2, financial issues, dodgy owners, eviction and ground shares outside of Coventry. And now they have the unpleasant taste of Mike Ashley's name on their lips as he evicts them from their own home. It's time to turn this once great club's fortunes around. Let's rebuild Coventry City. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are kicking off with the first of a 5-part series where we're going to be taking on possibly the most unlucky club in England. Yes, Coventry City have been through the mill. If anything could happen to a football club, it's possibly happened to Coventry. They've had a fall from grace going from the Premier League to League 2. They've had financial difficulties. They've had bad owners. They've even been evicted from their own ground and were having to do ground shares at one point. And now they have suffered the unfortunate taste of Mike Ashley on their tongues. Yes, he has bought the home that they currently reside in, the Coventry Building Society Arena, and has decided they don't have a future there unless they pay him lots of money, and have evicted them once again. So we are going to aim to turn those fortunes around. Coventry surely cannot go through any more heartache. Once they get their things sorted out in real life, hopefully they will start to be established again as a football team that is on the up. But luckily for us in FM23, we haven't reached the point where Mike Ashley is about to kick us out of our own home. And we're going to start on the 27th of June 2022. And we're going to look to start rebuilding Coventry City. So here's a brief little run through of who they are. So as you can see, they are a 3-star reputation national team with a 3-star finances, which are okay, which I find hard to believe considering everything that's gone on in the club's history and recent past. They have a 3.5-star training facility, 3.5-star youth facilities, a 1-star junior coaching and a 1-star youth recruitment. They're estimated to be valued at £18.4 million, which is pretty decent for a championship team that's just been promoted. Their year founded was 1883, so a lot of proud history at the football club. Looking at their key players, Liam Kelly is our club captain, Gustavo Hamer is our key player, and our hot prospect is Will Bapaga. At the start of the save, we are going to go to our assistant manager. We're going to ask him to put together what he feels is our best 11 for the upcoming season. Now, we have picked the tactic that he has moulded that 11 to, and he has gone with Moore in goal, Panzo at left back, Rose, McFadzean and Dabo. We've then got Hamer and Allen in the middle, with Goyokeres, O'Hare and Waghorn as the attacking three, with Godden at the top of the pitch. Now, picking some of the strengths and weaknesses that he has also highlighted, McFadzean and Rose show a good understanding when playing together at the back. Sheaf and Allen have formed a good partnership in the centre of the pitch. Goyokeres and Godden have shown a good understanding up top, forming a potent partnership when played together. Youth prospects, there are a number of talented prospects including Burrows, Reed, Lusala. Looking at the weaknesses though, we have a balance of 0. We'll tell you why in a second, which means no transfers for the first part of the season. A balance of 0 in the wage budget leaves limited options. There's not a great deal of depth outside of the club, which means that the first team is basically where our quality ends. There are questions about marking, handling for the goalkeepers, one-on-ones, positioning, jumping reach. There are some major setbacks with the team, but there are some good strengths too. So we have something to work with at least at the start of the save. A brief overview of the first team shows probably why our assistant manager does think that there is a little bit of lack of quality within the squad and the squad depth. We do have 3 goalkeepers on the book, that is fine. We have a good number of defenders, but not great quality defenders. We have a lot of players in the centre of the park for the midfield positions, and again, there are some players there that are ageing and can probably be upgraded once we can sign some players. And as for the attacking units, we have a good number of players who can come in off of the wings. We have a few younger players in there and a few players that I would really like to move on. And at the top of the pitch, we have Godden and Walker. So hopefully we will get some goals from them 2 players. This is the tactic I've decided to use for this rebuild series. It's going to be called the Cov 4-2-3-1. It's basically a tactic where I'm looking to be defensively sound whilst also having enough players higher up the pitch to cause our opponents some damage. Running through the positions, we have a sweeper keeper, we've got inverted wing backs, we have an RPM and a Mazzala, we have 2 inverted wingers, a shadow striker and a pressing forward at the top of the pitch to hopefully hassle and harry players that are going to try and bring the ball out from the back. If we choose our best 11 at the club at the moment and show you what that will look like, obviously some of our players are away, but again, if they slot into the tactic perfectly, this is what at current moment our best 11 should be. So going against what our assistant manager thinks, you've got Moore in goal, Bidwell at left back, McFadzean, Rose and Dabo, then there's Hamer and Sheaf, with Gyökeres, O'Hare and Waghorn and Godden at the top of the pitch. Looking at the club vision, the board want us to become a top half finishing side for the first season. They want to be competitive in the FA Cup and also be competitive in the EFL Cup. The only other actionable objectives that the board have, they want us to work within the wage budget, and in terms of their board culture, they want us to develop players using the club's youth system. Now, considering our assistant manager believes we have a number of good youth prospects, that is probably a good place to start. In terms of the support, they want us to be competitive against Aston Villa if we play them, be competitive against Leicester if we play them, and record an EFL Championship top half finish. So that matches up with the board. So our main first objective is going to be to crack the top half of the Championship. The last thing to touch on before we jump to the end of the first season is to show you what is happening with the finances at the start of the game. Now you can see Coventry only have a balance of £2 million. All those in real life issues affecting them off the pitch have kind of rolled into the game. So looking at the transfer budget to see zero is probably what you would expect anyway. But for the purposes of all of these rebuilds, I always turn off that first transfer window transfer activity. I think it's only fair to get to know your squad, give them a chance to make a good impression, to see which players you are going to want to retain after that first transfer window. And by the time we get to January, then you can start to influence the team as to how you want it. Now, when we get to January, the budget will probably still be zero unless we sell a few players on. So it's probably going to be a struggle in the first season anyway. And as I said, we're spending all of that wage budget, so it's going to be difficult to manoeuvre money around, because I'm pretty sure we've got a lot of players who are coming to the end of their contract at the end of the first season, and they're going to want to have pay rises and bonuses and things that we can't afford. So that's a brief introduction into the club and how the rebuild is going to work. Let's jump to the end of that first season and show you exactly how we've got on in the first season of the Coventry City rebuild. We have jumped forwards to the end of the first season. It's the 1st of June 2023, and you can see that we have hit our main objective by finishing in the top half of the Championship. We have finished in 11th place, scoring 66 points from 46 games. We'll break it down a little bit more in just a second, but the other competitions, the FA Cup, we were knocked out in the 3rd round by Chelsea of that, and the Carabao Cup, we were knocked out in the 1st round by Warsaw. Considering we started off with a club balance of only £2 million and nothing available to us in transfers in that first window, in the January window we were actually able to get some business done. Most of the players that we let go of were loans, so we had the likes of Tom Bilson join Grimsby, Dermy Lusala join Exeter, there was Marco Roos went to Dynamo Bucharest, we had McGrath, Shepherd, Turaj and Blaine Rowe all go out on loan too, and they are youth team players that need to get that next step in their career, so first team football is vital to them. The only deal that we did for a permanent transfer might come back to bite us. We needed cash and we needed it quick, so Wilbur Paga was a player who had some interest in him. Everton came to us with a bid of £200,000 overall, £145,000 up front, and it was one of those, do we take it in the short term and try and rebuild the team now, or do we hold on to the player and potentially upset him, not letting him go? He actually ended up asking to leave, so we allowed the deal to go through for 145,000, rising to 200,000. But part of the deal was we got him back till the end of the season, and he actually helped us to win some games, so it was kind of a win-win for both parties. With the money that we actually picked up, we didn't spend a lot of it because we had to convert some into wage budget so we could keep the likes of Gustavo Hamer and put him on the kind of wages that he wanted at the end. But we did do some free business, so Ronaldo Turaj was the first player that came in. You can see he's a former Tottenham player. He went out on loan, as I said, to get some first team experience once he had come in. Jalen Wildbohr, He is a player who used to play for Fulham, played for Burton Albion also. Again, these are players that we are just looking to kind of develop for the future and maybe get them in now and sell them on for a profit later on. We had Jordan Ado Antoine, who was picked up by our scouts, recommended to us. We've picked him up and then sent him out on loan to try and get some first team football to develop him. He has some good attributes for a wing back in terms of pace, acceleration, tackling, so maybe a bright prospect there at the age of 19. We got Wilbur Pagger back on loan, and then the players that we actually purchased, we spent an entire £17,000 on transfers. The first player was Adam Randall, used to play for Torquay and Plymouth. He came in and actually did a pretty good job as a rotation piece in our central midfield. He has some decent stats for who he is, and again, he's another one that we've signed for a little amount of money and kind of looking at moving him on potentially if we can get somebody better in the summer for season 2, but it was just a no-brainer. He was on the transfer list for that kind of money. We picked him up, and the other player that we picked up was MJ Williams, another £9,000 spent here, and again, 27 years old, former Liverpool, Rochdale, Blackpool and Bolton player, who again was just a player brought in to give us a bit of depth in the middle of the park. We had a few injuries across the season which held us back, and these are the kinds of players that came in and were able to just be in and around the squad to try and help out. And the final transfer that we made was Jackson Conway on a free transfer. This is a player I've had my eye on in real life. He plays for Atlanta United and has come through their academy. He has a good goal scoring record for Atlanta's second team, and when he was available on a free transfer, it was a no-brainer to just go out and pick him up. 21 years old, USA youth player. I think he has a bright prospect at the club if he can settle in the country. So that's all the transfer business that we did. As I said, 17,000 spent, 145,000 was recouped in that one deal in January. The finances have started to look a little bit healthier heading into season 2. We now have £6.4 million in the bank. £700,000 of that will be available to us to spend on transfers. That's pretty decent. I didn't expect to have that kind of money considering we only had 2 million at the start of the season, so we're going to have to go out and do a bit of wheeling dealing and try and get as many players in for that 700,000 as we can. We have £150,060 as a wage budget per week. We're currently spending £148,456 of that, but committed spending is only £110,000. There are quite a number of first team players that we wouldn't renew contracts of because I didn't think that they had a future at the club. So it's going to be interesting what money we have available going forwards. Can I invest it wisely? The other problem that we do have is this club is constantly in and out of takeovers. I think we had 2 or 3 bids submitted during the first season which prevented us from signing players initially at the start of January, and then once that cleared off, it was kind of back to work, and then a new person come in with a bid and we didn't know whether we were going to have a job or not, but luckily we're still here heading into season 2. Looking at the board's satisfaction at the end of season 1 then, working within the wage budget, we are on course with that. Grow the club's reputation, that is going to be difficult because we are not signing the players that we need to sign to help that happen, if that makes sense. The results on the pitch are the only way we're going to be able to do it, and the players that we have at the moment aren't the right players to push the club forwards, but we're going to work on that. Minimum 1-year contracts for players over the age of 34. We're trying to trim the squad of those kinds of players anyway. Maximum 2-year contracts for players over the age of 32. Again, we're trying to reduce the average age of the squad, promote from within like the club wanted, and also kind of weed out the high earners who aren't pulling their weight at the club. Minimum 2-year contracts for first team players. Now that is applying to everybody under the age of 30 really. Anybody who's been promoted are getting 2-year contracts. So for the next season, they want us to become an established championship team, which is fine. We finished mid-table, so that should be achievable, and be competitive in the EFL Cup. Our contract will be expiring at the end of the season, so that will be up for renewal. In terms of the board feedback from the first season, we got a C+. The board were pleased with the management of the team. They want us now to develop players using the club's youth system and sign players under the age of 23 for the first team. Now, obviously, we are losing quite a lot of the veteran players at the club, so getting players under the age of 23, they're going to need some kind of figurehead or mentors at the club, so it's going to be a fine balance as to whether we can achieve that at the first time of asking. Highlights: pleased with the quality of pressing when using a Geigenpress style, pleased with the 2-0 championship victory against Birmingham, which obviously is a local rival, so they were happy with that. And pleased with the 1-1 draw against Blackburn. Disappointed about a 2-0 defeat to QPR and a 2-1 defeat to Middlesbrough. Looking quickly at the supporters, we get a C+ from the supporters. They want us to strive to make progress on and off the pitch, be competitive against Villa and Leicester if we happen to play them. They were pleased with the quality of the pressing with the Geigen press style, pleased with the 2-0 victory against Birmingham, and pleased with the 1-1 draw against Reading. They're disappointed about the 2-0 defeat against QPR, and they've been disappointed with Casey Palmer and Jamie Allen's performances. Now, Casey Palmer and Jamie Allen are two players that I think are going to be leaving the club shortly, so hopefully once they leave we can start to turn that one around anyway. Let's have a little breakdown then of how Season 1 ended in terms of the Championship. So our main aim was to get as a top half of the table team, and we have achieved that just. 11th was our position. There are 24 teams. Obviously, we could have finished 11th or 12th, but we just about crept in. We got 66 points from our 46 games, and that was with us winning 19 games. We had 9 draws. We had 18 losses. We scored 78 goals, so we did have a fair amount of goals from our players. The only problem is we had a leaky defence and we conceded 70 goals. So we only finished on an 8-goal difference across the entire season and on 66 points. So not the best return from the first season, but I did say it was going to be difficult considering we weren't expected really to do anything in the league, and also we didn't really have the squad depth to be able to challenge consistently. Once we had a bit of fatigue and a few injuries, it kind of fell apart at places, but we did hold our own where we could. Looking at the rest of the Championship then, so you've got Watford, Norwich and Blackburn getting promoted. Who got relegated? Stoke, Swansea and Preston. So we finished far enough away from the relegation zone, 31 points ahead of Preston, and we finished around 28 points, I think that is, 27 points off of Watford. So we are truly a mid-table team, which is exactly where we wanted to be anyway. So looking at a few player stats then, so Godden actually managed to get 23 league goals. Timu Pukki leading the way for Norwich. He's a bit of a god in this league because obviously he can play in the Premier League. But yeah, Godden getting 23 goals is quite impressive for us. In terms of the average ratings, I don't think we've got anybody ranking anywhere in that. It wasn't a good season for our average ratings. In terms of assists, did we have anybody there? So we got Dinanga, he got 10 assists. We had Gustavo Hamer with 9 assists and Goyokeres with 9 assists. Also, did we have Player of the Match awards? Let's have a look. Matt Godden getting 5 Player of the Match awards, which is quite a decent return for him. Clean sheets, as you saw, our defence was quite leaky, so not surprisingly we don't have more on the clean sheets. We had quite a lot of yellow cards, 20 for Dabo, 17 for Panzo. We had Reed covering 14.99 kilometres per 90 minutes. We had Dabo with 3.18 tackles per 90 minutes. And did we have dribbles per 90 minutes? We had Dabo in 8th and Callum Doyle in 13th. Jonathan Panzo scraping in 20th place there. So that's a brief overview of how the Championship went. Just again to cover the rest of the competitions. We got knocked out in the 3rd round of the FA Cup by Chelsea, and we got knocked out in the 1st round by Warsaw in the Carabao Cup. The final thing to look at the end of Season 1 is what the squad will look like. Now, we're going to start off by looking at the players that are going to be leaving the club at the end of the season. We have quite a lot of players here who have contracts that are expiring that should never have got those contracts anyway. You have players like Martin Waghorn, whoever put him on £7,500 at Coventry. No, we have Tyler Walker on 5,500. We have Dabo on 5,000. You have Julian DeCosta on 5,500. So those are players that really we're going to look to move off of the books. Once their contracts expire, we just are going to let them go because there's no real value in them. Nobody wants to buy them, but we can get that money off of the wage bill and try and get players in and maybe pay that 7,500 that Waghorn's getting to 2 or 3 players. So a full rundown of the players whose contracts will expire is Liam Kelly, Carl McFadzean, Martin Waghorn, Ben Wilson, Phenaxi Dabo, Tyler Walker, Josh Eccles. Jack Burrows is down on the list as his contract expiring, but I think we will look at him because he was one of the players that was recommended to us as a young prospect to watch. Dinanga did perform well during the season. Don't think he really fits in with my way of playing and the way that I see the club going. Julian Da Costa will go. Michael Rose, Luke Bell, Wilbur Pagger will be going back to Everton now he's their player. And then we have a whole host of players whose contract will end the following season. So we'll look at what we can do with them, because there's quite a lot of high earners in that bracket too. The last thing to look at then is how our starting 11 might look. If we go to our best 11. So 2 different versions of the best 11 in the squad planner. So this is our current first team with everybody in it that is still going to be at the club at this moment in time, but probably won't be for next season. So we're finishing with Moore in goal, Bidwell, McFadzean, Rose and Dabo, Hamer, Ben Sheaf, Waghorn, O'Hare, Gyökeres and Matt Godden. So looking at just that first 11, players that probably will not be at the club are Dabo, McFadzean, Waghorn. Hamer, we had to try and renew his contract because he is he's head and shoulders above everybody else. We really do need to keep him. Looking at the assistant report version of it, we've got Moore, Bidwell, McFadzean, Rose, Dabo, Hamer, Sheaf, Gyökeres, O'Hare, Waghorn, and then Godden up top. So we have a big rebuild job to come in the summer. We have £700,000 to spend, which is a relief, because spending £17,000 in January buying 2 players who really were just an option. They were just bodies that we needed for squad depth reasons. It was not the best, but it gives us bright hope going into season 2 that we can start to move the club forwards. Our next aim is to finish higher than 11th, maybe try and crack just at the bottom of where the playoffs are and try and scrape in maybe through the back door. And then obviously, if we were to do that, I would not want us to get promoted, because the team will just not be in a position to be challenging once we get anywhere in and around the playoffs. Certainly if we was to get promoted, we would just get relegated straight away. So it's a building block, it's something to start with. Season 1 is complete. Right then, if you're still here at this point of the video, firstly, a big thank you. Secondly, if you don't mind hitting the like and subscribe to help the channel. It's been fantastic watching the growth of the channel across the past couple of weeks. Really am blown away by everybody's support. It really has helped getting these videos out. The motivation to keep wanting to bring the videos is really there, and I really appreciate every single person who takes the time to come to the channel and interact with it. So a big thank you for that. For this one though, I'm going to start to wrap it up. Don't forget, there are other things on the channel. We have let's plays, we have tutorials, tactics, tips, wonder kids. It's all on the channel. Go and check something else out there. But for this one, I'm going to finish there. I'll see you on the next episode of the Coventry Rebuild.